2025 was the worst year ever in terms of tourism and travel in Vegas in modern recent memory. And if things are to be believed, if the same person who predicted the 2025 downturn is right, it looks like 2026 might actually be even worse. And so in this video, we're going to look at what UNLV economics professor Stephen Miller correctly predicted in November of 2024 and how he called out the entire year of troubles we have had and the bone-chilling warning that he gave about 2026. And if what he said is to be true, then it means Vegas casino companies must be absolutely panicking and shaking in their shoes right now. And along the way, we're going to take a look at where travel, tourism in Vegas sits in the fourth quarter of 2025, how we got here, how bad it's been for these casino companies, and what it all means to you. My name is Steven. This is NLLV, a channel that can't be bought by the casinos, where we tell you the truth as it stands. And as we say around here, 1, 2, 3, and action. So at the end of 2024, the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, we'll just call it UNLV for short, they did what big universities always do. They released an outlook, a paper, a research paper on what they thought 2025 would look like in the eyes of the school and the top economists in the area that watch the Vegas economy way more than anybody else, even more than me. The report outlined a 5.8% decline in the number of people coming to Vegas in 2025. And once again, this is coming off the COVID travel surge, where people basically did revenge tourism, spending every dollar they possibly could in order to just go back to the place that they loved. And I'm sure nobody believed them. But how did it turn out? 5.8% prediction? Well, it turned out actually a lot worse than that. As a matter of fact, instead of a shocking 5.8%, Vegas managed to attract 8% less people than it did in the following year, and the year isn't over yet. We still have 2 months to go. So then how did we get here? What happened in 2025 that made Vegas one of the worst years in the local economy ever? And why won't we see much of an improvement going into 2026? So first up, we'll talk about the drop in visitorship into the city, with some months going as high as nearly 12% or greater. Drops in foot traffic lead to restaurants like this. This used to be called America here at the Link, one of the original restaurants to open when the Link opened years ago, just seemingly closing up overnight. And maybe it was because of this low traffic, or because casino companies are just obscenely greedy in a lot of cases, that the average daily room rate spiked upwards of $165 per night. Now, this is a huge increase over 2019, when the average room night in Vegas was $120 and resort fees were still there, but a little more kept in check. But think about that increase in prices, and think about how the economy is doing right now, because the economy right now is not good, and people can't afford these prices, hence the lack of foot traffic and the amount of people coming into town dropping so darn precipitously. And of course, the prices didn't just stop at the rooms being more expensive. Little things like the average price of a buffet skyrocketing to about $90, and where there once was a cheap buffet, there was most likely nothing more than a food hall. Glorified mall food courts where the average meal would cost you somewhere around $30 to $40. And all throughout 2025, bit by bit, step by step, Vegas became less of a realistic vacation spot for people like you watching this video. But still, the casino companies, they didn't really care. You see, they made their money in stocks. They had their investors. Their investors were happy, those people playing the stock market. Month over month, the reports would come into Vegas, and month over month through 2025, we would see the same thing. Month over month declines on the number of people actually visiting the city, but month over month increases in the amount of money being gambled and spent in the casinos themselves. And as 2025 ticked on and consumer confidence sunk, and many of you guys started becoming worried about paying your bills, let alone taking a trip to Vegas, less and less people had the idea that coming to Vegas was a very good value. And in an economy like we have in 2025, where layoffs are at all-time highs, inflation keeps ticking up on the things that matter most, like your ability to buy food and groceries, gasoline for your car. In an economy like that, where you're worried about where your Christmas is coming from, certainly not a trip to Vegas, you'd think the casinos would worry. But the casinos didn't worry, because one metric, one number, one thing on the monthly report was the only thing that mattered to them. And so what was that one number that the casinos could always bank on? The one number that would make all of their investors and shareholders in the markets happy? That number was the gaming revenue. A number which, strangely enough, the UNLV professors got all wrong. They had predicted a 4% 30% plus decline in gaming in 2025. But it seems like Vegas had already done its magic and finally started getting their perfect client to town. And that's the kind of client that, as we reported in our video prior to this, has a 401k, has $200,000 sitting in the bank, and has the ability to do those things. And I've been telling you guys, those are the kind of people that play in the markets. Yeah, these were people that gambled more, spent more, and they generally had a stock portfolio, 401ks. Heck, they even played in that stock market, something I've been telling you guys to do for a really long time, by the way. I'm asking you, why aren't you guys capitalizing on that? So I get up in the morning and I trade those markets, and no, I'm not trying to make $10,000 a day or any of those ridiculous claims you hear thrown around online. I just go in and I try to pay a few bills, you know, 50 bucks here, 75 bucks there. Usually within 20 minutes, I'm finished for the day. And the real question I have for you right now is, what if you guys had that skill? What if you guys had that knowledge? I mean, you'd be more interesting and it seems smart to your friends at dinner parties, right? But what if you guys could maybe pay a bill or two, or possibly pay your rent with this someday? Would that be helpful for you? And if the answer is yes, then I have my own course. It's called 1K a day. It's how I keep these videos on YouTube free, but for you guys, you'll learn everything that I know. And for the first 10 people watching, you're going to head on over to 1kaday.diy and type in the code 15 at checkout. If you're one of the first 10, you're going to get the entire course for 90% off with the code 15 at checkout. It's going to show you everything I know about the markets and then some, and you guys will have that skill for life. I have to increase the price soon because I keep adding to the course, adding more content, but get it now, 1kaday.diy, code number 15, and teach yourself something so you guys can be better off, because life is about growth. And if you're not growing, you're like these people in these stories I keep sharing on YouTube, like this one. So as 2025 started to get longer and longer and we entered into the third and fourth quarter, the stories started to surface. Stories like small business owners on Fremont Street that used to pull in $21,000 in gross revenue on a Friday or a Saturday, pulling in less than $5. Stories that affected the human element in Vegas, and not just the things that you see on the strip. These stories covered anonymous whistleblower tips of service workers who were put on basically call-in shifts, where if it was busy enough, they might get the call. But some who had gone days or even weeks before actually getting a shift in the casinos, and once they got one, the tips simply weren't there because the foot traffic wasn't here. All the while, once again, the casino companies, they seemed fine with all of this. You see, because the casinos may have been betting on this for a very long time. The pivot, the moves, all of the chess pieces had been slowly sliding into place. Because casino companies are very savvy. They have some of the smartest business people in the world running them. And whether or not you saw it happening, they knew exactly what they were doing, pivoting their profit model away from casino gaming, whereas now almost less than 50% of all the money made by the casinos come from the gaming industry. With the arrival of professional sports leagues coming into town and the normalization of betting apps across the nation, with MGM Resorts International and Caesars Entertainment having a foothold in every single state where professional sports betting apps are legal, it meant that they didn't make as much money in Vegas off the gambler, but it didn't really matter as long as the conventions and big events were still coming into town. All that seemed to be true, but towards the end of 2025, as quarterly reports started to come in, investors to companies like MGM Resorts International started to ask a lot of questions. Big questions like, why are you only reporting a 0.9% increase in profits year over year? So not only did Vegas have to contend with the average American in 2025, finding themselves at a loss to pay their bills and tapped out on travel from predatory Vegas prices, it also had to contend with the facts that Canadians and international people from all over the world were simply staying away. And at first, many people thought that Canadians staying away would be a temporary thing and may not affect the city that much. And even me on this channel, like I'm okay to admit that I was wrong when I said that Canadians not coming would not have that big of an effect. But it certainly has. I mean, Canada brings hundreds of millions of dollars to the economy locally. And you know, suffice it to popular belief, I had a friend text me to ask if Canadians are just not tippers or if they're nasty customers. The truth is they tip just fine. And yes, it is starting to affect the fact that they're not here. Anybody else telling you otherwise is just being sour grapes on the whole thing, and possibly just a little bit too patriotic and too political. And so when UNLV professors made their bold claim of a 5-point-something% decrease in tourism in 2025, it's important to keep in mind that they never considered every other factor that I just listed. Because at the time, things were much different. I mean, they weren't thinking about Donald Trump telling people he wants to make Canada the 51st state. They weren't thinking about people being afraid to come in for ICE and immigration reasons. They weren't thinking about tariffs, literally increasing the prices to no end, because, frankly, none of those things that existed in November of 2024. Still, they looked at the economy, and they had some kind of crystal ball. So what did they say out of their crystal ball about 2026? Well, if they missed the 2025 predictions by nearly 3 percentage points, 2026, it sounds like, could be a lot worse. So going into 2026, it's important that we remember that Vegas and the nation economy go hand in hand, but Vegas will always take a back seat to more important things. This town is second or third on people's lists of things to do. When it comes to a vacation, the casinos have done a really good job of basically kneecapping the city as a destination for most of those things. Do you feel like gambling? Well, that's cool. There's a good chance that Caesars Entertainment or MGM Resorts International or maybe Wynn has built something near you. And if they haven't, then the proliferation and literal explosion, seemingly overnight, of Native American gaming establishments, yeah, they got your backs covered for gambling. What about sports? Hey, you want to go bet on sports? Yeah, Vegas undid that too. Pushing themselves into 31 different states, most of these big casino companies made it seemingly simple for you to open an app and place a bet on a game. So why bother coming to Vegas for that kind of thing either? And just like that, as everyday people are being crushed more and more by an economy that doesn't seem to be turning around anytime soon, they basically eliminated the must-do reasons for people to come back into town. But there's more to it than just that. I mean, if you were to ask me when I think international tourists and travel would come back, I would ask you, how long do you think you can hold your breath for? Don't expect Canadians to come back to Vegas anytime soon. Donald Trump has dug his heels in a trade war with him and Mark Carney, the Canadian Prime Minister, and Canadians are not doing too hot in their own economy, something that most of them will never really want to admit. Unemployment in Canada is up, and it's still very expensive to live in the Great White North. Everybody else, they're still worried about ICE raids and immigration, so are they going to come back in full force? I don't know. Are they exploring their own backyards more and still traveling? Well, as I did explain in a video several weeks, if not a few months ago, absolutely yes. The United States' loss has been the gain of places all over Europe and countries like Mexico and even Cuba. And as for corporations and big conventions, you know, the bread and butter that kind of fills up tens of thousands, if not 100,000 rooms when times are slow in Vegas, those companies are also looking at the markets and wondering where things go next. Corporate restructuring, looking at the debt markets, not being able to borrow money. These are all reasons why big conventions may very well skip Vegas or send smaller amounts of people into town, thereby hurting our economy and our travel and our tourism influx even more. So right now you're watching and you're like, okay, Mr. Doom and Gloom, what the heck am I supposed to do about it? And I'll tell you what, out of every single crisis brings great opportunity. So this exactly is what this all means for you and what you guys should do. See, because every bad economy begets new businesses and even entirely new industries. So maybe the restaurant in your neighborhood closed down because of tariffs and inflation and things like this, and you start a ghost kitchen and you start making money that way. Or you know how to repair things and you start offering your services on Facebook Marketplace. Or maybe you guys want to learn how to take advantage of the volatility in the markets, because we make money when it goes up and down with what my course is all about, 1kaday.diy, code number 15, get 90% off, be one of the first 10. But either way, what you do with that extra money, no matter how you make it, is you put it into something like the stock market or like Bitcoin, and in the future, you become better off. Because I think the message I always want to put out is one of hope. Every bad economy begets success stories. I want you to be one of those. So don't rest on your laurels. Just awaken that part in you that you know is capable of amazing things and see how far it can take you. Speaking of awakening amazing people, check out the people on the side of my head here. Those are our Patreon members. They get extra content for supporting us on Patreon. They also get their name in the credits once a week. My name is Steven. This is NLLV. We do videos Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, live streams as well. We have Vegas base with an economic twist. Until the next time I see you guys, we say 3, 2, 1, click. Are you ready? We say 3, 2, 1, and click!